Let's start by you introducing us to Inertia, because a fusion-powered plant is completely contingent in your case and you cracking extremely powerful lasers, a sentence I never thought I'd say on this show. Take it from there.
Well, Inertia is the commercial fusion energy company. That's because in order to commercialize the technology, you need to prove the science. So we are resting on the scientific proof that it was made several years ago, you probably read about it, at Lawrence Livermore National Lab.
Yes.
And now we are here to take it out of the lab and bring it to the grid. And we do that in three ways. One, of course, start with proven science. Number two, we're going to go build the world's most powerful laser. In fact, the laser we're going to build is 1 million times more powerful than the one they use over at Lawrence Livermore. It's 20 times more efficient and 1/10 the size. Then we're going to go build the world's first fusion fuel target manufacturing plant. And then lastly, we're going to bring all those things together into a grid-scale 1.5 gigawatt power plant that we hope to bring online in the 2030s.
There's a lot there. There's a lot of we are going to, with lasers like we broke the story about Substrate, for example, which is also using X-rays in lithography. That was born out of the national labs here in California. Right. There's some interesting tangents there. That's all to say, it sounds like you probably need $450 million to get started if you're going to pull all of this off. What's the first priority?
Well, fusion energy is not a cheap endeavor. So, yes, it will be capital intensive. That's why we're so happy to be starting off with such a great group of investors for our Series A. And if you think about it, commercialization really requires three things. First of all, you need proven science. So we've got that. Second is you need a great team. And so for a team to go commercialize, you've got my co-founder, Annie, who's the lead designer of the experiment at Lawrence Livermore that achieved this huge milestone. My other co-founder, Mike Dunn, ran the program that designed the power plant based on that experiment. And then I'm bringing business experience to the domain as well. And so you look at the team that we're building, which is a team that is designed to commercialize. And the third thing you need is funding. And that's why this funding announcement is such a big part of our story.
What's interesting is you hit while the iron is hot, so to speak, in terms of a need, an energy need, and it's coming from the very top. It's coming from the administration. Just listen to what a key administration official told us today.
Now we're facing this AI arms race with China. We need more power. We need energy addition. The way to have energy addition is to stop getting rid of the stuff that already works. And of course, that includes our fossil fuel baseload. In the PGM market, 70% of the power was coming from hydrocarbons, during those storms. I mean, America and the world is dependent on it and is going to be in the long future.
U.S. Interior Secretary there, Doug Burgum speaking, Jeff. How quickly can you provide this very much needed alternative energy source?
Well, I think investment in new energy sources is always a long-term play. No matter what kind of energy you're talking about, it takes time to develop the technology. Our goal is to have the first fusion pilot plant online in the 2030s, available to start producing grid-scale energy. And our solution is a grid-scale answer to our energy problems, which can provide enough power to power 1 million homes or a medium to large-sized city at any one point in time. And that's just the first plant. After that, we'll move on to building the second, the third, the fourth, and keep stamping these things out.
Stamping these fusion things out, which could go either direction. I love talking about the big lasers. I also love talking about big magnets, Jeff. Why was this the technology you bet on when it comes to nuclear fusion?
Well, the reason why we're betting on the laser-based fusion approach is because it has actually worked. The basic science of our approach, thanks to more than 60 years of work in the national labs and more than $30 billion invested by the government to get to this huge milestone where it actually produced energy. And so now that is the time when you want to go commercialize. And that experiment was first proven in December of 2022, but since then has been now run many times and in fact increased the yield or the amount of energy it creates multiple fold. And so that's why this is the time to take it out of the lab and bring it to the grid, because of the proven science that is demonstrated.
The skepticism, the pause is that we have been talking about this technology for quite a long time. And people's projections are always wrong on when it gets commercialized. Do you have a kind of line of sight to that? Like, will you do it in California, for example, or is that just not realistic in this state? You're looking elsewhere in the United States. Give us the kind of like plans, operationally to make this real?
Absolutely. Well, we have a 12 to 24 month period right now where we are proving the design validation of the things we're going to go manufacture. Then we've got a multi-year stage where we're going to go actually make the prototypes of our laser units, of our target manufacturing plant. And after that, that's when we break ground on the plant itself. Where we put the plant, we have not yet decided. I think that's up for a determination over the next several years. But the key thing for us is that this is not about basic science. The thing that introduces a lot of uncertainty into these types of innovations is basic science. You never know if it's going to work tomorrow or a decade or 100 years from now or maybe never. But when you're talking about engineering, bringing a product to market, doing an industrial scale-up to go build bigger lasers, more targets, those are the kinds of things that are predictable. Think about, Apple. Every year, they're bringing a brand new, really hard to manufacture, incredibly innovative device to market in terms of our new iPhones, and they figure out how to take it to a factory and make 1 billion of them. Well, that's basically what our approach is. It's just we're making lasers and targets and bringing those together into a plant.
Jeff, over a period of many years, you came on this program as the leader of a public company, whether the stock was up, down, or sideways, and in difficult moments. Right now, software, which was your former domain, is having a difficult moment because people are concerned that AI will just render it obsolete. Would you just tell me what you're making of that moment and your former company, but the field?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did make this call back then, which was to say that I believe that software as a service companies would struggle in this AI era. Not because people are going to go ask Claude to go just make them their own SaaS. I don't think that's the reason. But because per-seat pricing is going to be a big challenge. In fact, services that are back-end infrastructure, APIs like Twilio is, I think those are the services that win because they provide the services that agents are going to be able to plug into and be able to build all sorts of new and interesting use cases. But I think the idea that you've got a workflow that's based on the number of employees you have doing that workflow, I think those companies can get disrupted. And I think that's what you're seeing in the markets right now.
And Jeff, is it an overreaction from your perspective? Because many are just throwing everything out, baby with bathwater, rather than being discerning about whether this is a platform engagement, whether or not it's just a change in the way of pricing the offering in the future, rather than having to rebuild from the ground up.
Well, I'm firmly in the camp of not throwing away babies with bathwater. And so I think that over time, investors will discern which companies are well poised for success in this era, as well as which ones are going to struggle because they have the innovator's dilemma based on their pricing models.